Hello and welcome. I'm Meg Thomas, and this is the Emotional Expedition podcast. Researcher and shame expert Brené Brown asked thousands of people to identify and name their emotions. The average response, 3. Happy, sad, and angry. Many of us grew up in homes where we were raised to believe that emotions were not important, that they got in the way of how we were supposed to behave. And as a result, we were never taught how to properly identify and name what we were feeling, let alone acknowledge how it felt in our bodies. And we were most definitely not taught how to communicate any of it. Well-meaning people told us to stop being so sensitive, stop crying, and quit being dramatic. No matter how it was said, the message was clear. We were wrong, or our emotions were wrong. So we bottled it up, put on a happy face, and set out to get along and not make anyone else uncomfortable by feeling anything. The world affirmed that in order to succeed, we would have to suck it up and keep it inside, and told us that this isn't the time or the place, and the sooner we could get over our grief, our anger, our heartbreak, our disappointment, the better. And we know this doesn't work. At least it doesn't work in the long term. Eventually, emotions are going to show up, and if we can't name them and process them, we'll numb or medicate them, and they'll get stuck in our bodies, causing all sorts of physical problems. This is so important because it not only limits our emotional experience, it shapes it. That's why so many of us find ourselves as adults trying to figure out exactly what it is we're feeling, and this doesn't come naturally to us. But that's okay because we can learn it. We can learn how to identify and name our emotions. We can learn the language of emotion so we can talk about what we're feeling. We can learn how to make sense of what's happening in our lives, and we can learn how to share what we're feeling with others. That's what this podcast is all about. It's a place to learn the language, to expand our vocabulary, all the way up to 87 emotions and experiences, thanks to Brené Brown. This podcast is a place to see what we've gotten right and what we've gotten wrong all these years. We will use Brené Brown's book, Atlas of the Heart, as our roadmap to understanding. And once we understand the language, we'll see how it shows up in our lives. We'll learn how we can move through the emotions without bypassing them or stuffing them down so they get stuck. On the podcast, there will be healers and experts from all different modalities to help us understand the connection between our bodies and our emotions. We'll learn how to release emotion through movement, sound healing, yoga, meditation, journaling, breathwork, therapy, and so much more. And there will be lots of stories, tons of real-life stories. I believe deeply in the power of storytelling, so I will share my stories and others will share their stories. Shame to me might look like my struggle with infertility, and shame to someone else might look like their struggle with addiction. I will be here not to lead you, but to walk alongside you as I too continue to deepen my own knowledge of my emotions. And to channel my inner Oprah, here's what I know for sure. Our connection with others can only go as deep as our connection with ourselves. So join me on this emotional expedition and our journey of healing. Together, we'll learn how to feel our feelings and use them as a compass to guide us to living a more open-hearted, magical life.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, women's voices amplified.